To me, if it ever feels like I'm trying to like adjust my life in order to show up on social media, then what's the point? Like, what's the point? Because then, I'm not being authentic. I'm not being myself. I'm being a version of me that only exists on Instagram, and that's not what I set out to be and what I'm striving to be.
What's up, peaches?
Welcome back to Growing Into It, a podcast unpacking the parts of adulthood that often go unsaid.
So, one thing I've noticed the most about growing older as I get more established in a routine, in my career, and in a committed relationship is the comparison of who I've become versus who I thought I would be like years ago. Mm-hmm. I've always been a very goal-oriented person, which I've mentioned several times on the podcast. I usually have like 5 to 10 year plans, a list of accomplishment I want to hit, and a general idea of the person and the type of life I would be living. And we all know that things change as we move through life. Events happen that you didn't put on your bingo card, like a global pandemic.
It's a big one. It's a big one.
And you grow older and your personality changes, priorities, your body changes in ways you weren't expecting. There's just like so much we can't predict, and we beat ourselves up for the things we can't predict and the person that our 20-year-old self thought we would be. I don't think people talk enough about how uncomfortable growth can actually be, because becoming someone new almost means having to leave something behind or part of yourself behind. Our guest today is here to help us figure out how to become the version of yourself you dream about without abandoning yourself in the process.
Our guest is a teacher with a background in psychology and education, an honors Bachelor of Education, and a special education specialist. A lot of people first found her online through her advocacy for natural mid-sized bodies in fitness and fashion, where she created such an honest and refreshing space online. But over time, she's really opened up on her platform to show all sides of life, from pregnancy and motherhood to teaching dance, maintaining friendships, balancing career and identity, and being honest about the reality of trying to juggle it all. So Jenny Vana, welcome to Growing Into It.
Wow, what an intro. That is so nice.
All right, Jenny, you are someone who shares the beautiful moments, but also the hard and messy ones too, which is exactly why we thought you'd be perfect for today's conversation. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, a little bit about myself. That intro was fantastic, so thank you very much. I am Jenny. I'm 31 years old. I am a teacher, a content creator in the fitness, fashion, lifestyle world online. Kind of fell into that role quite naturally, which I never had expected for myself, but I really love creating that kind of online community, and I really feel like I have those parasocial relationships with my community online, and I love that. I love that we've created that. I am a mom to a crazy 2-year-old. I am a wife, and then I am a fitness instructor at a dance studio that I love and adore, and I spend most of my evenings either at the gym or creating content, and at the dance studio instructing adults that are trying new things in life and just exploring new forms of movement in their adulthood.
We absolutely love that, especially the end, like trying something new in their life. And it can be so scary. And I've seen the content you've made of the dancing you guys do, and it's just like so inspiring. And you're really leaning into helping women try to figure out something new that they want to do. And do you find the people coming to the studio is mostly newcomers?
Yes and no. Like I feel they either fit into two categories. It's like retired dancers or gymnasts that are picking it back up in their adult life, or it's women who are just trying to find a hobby in their adult life, and then they are trying dance or aerial fitness for the first time. Which is really cool. Like, it's cool to see both walks of life all kind of mingling in the same space. And it's such a welcoming environment that, like, we all cheer each other on. So even if you have been a competitive dancer or a competitive gymnast, or you're in your 50s and you're trying dance for the first time, like, all these women are in the same dance classes together, and it's just always such a fun vibe. Like, everybody's hooting and hollering for one another, and lots of women will say, like, they'll come in and they're like, I wasn't sure how it was going to go, and like now I'm hooked, and I come back 3 times a week. And so it's funny, we see like a ton of regulars, and it's just so nice to find that space in adulthood.
Oh my God, absolutely. And I'm sure it's like really intimidating at first going into a studio like
Totally.
that. Like any studio, honestly, whether it is dance or Pilates. I find Pilates studios very intimidating, but I really want to go. But like you do find when you get into a space, especially as an adult, you're all like, we're all just wanting to find a space where we belong, and we all have this common interest. So why don't we all just cheer each other on? And I absolutely love that.
Yeah. And each reason that someone has for going to do those classes, both sides are really nice, because either it's, someone who used to previously dance and wants to start doing that again, or it's someone who is maybe too nervous to try it or didn't have the time or the finances to be able to do it at a younger age. And they're like, okay, I want to go try something new. So either way, it's a woman finding something that's going to give her fulfillment, which is really sweet.
So many people will say, like, I always wanted to be a dancer when I was young, but my parents never put me in dance, or we couldn't afford dance. So it's so cool to see, like, when you have the autonomy to spend your own money and you can make those dreams come true for yourself. And we joke, like, now we're in our 30s and we're like, do you want to come to my dance recital on the weekend?
Yes! Do you want to listen to our podcast? But it is. And then you really do find those people that are with you to see you succeed and, like, honestly just, like, want the best for you and to cheer you on. So that's also very freeing too.
Yep.
All right, guys, we have a lot of other things to get into today, so let's grow into it.
So we first want to get into the topic of establishing your life in your younger years. So let's rewind a little bit. When you were younger, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Okay, so oddly enough, I always knew that I wanted to be a teacher, but I did see two paths for myself at one point. Like, when I was heavily into competitive dance, I thought that I could make a career out of it, and I would be like dancing on cruise ships or dancing in Disney World. And outside of that, like not the fallback, but like the traditional career that people ask you, like when you're in school, like what do you want to be when you grow up? I always knew I wanted to be a teacher. My mom's a teacher. My grandfather was a teacher. So I've had a lot of professional role models in my life that were in education as well, and I've always admired them for that, and have just always had a love for kids, and I guess kind of getting that fulfillment of seeing the aha moments and seeing the growth that you can get in teaching children and helping them learn something new.
What grade do you currently teach?
I teach grade 3-4 right now. I've done 3-4 all the way 3-4, 5-6, and I've done health and phys ed for senior students as well.
Oh, cute. Yeah. Do you have a favorite?
That's a great question. I like different grades for different reasons. I feel like I like the 5-6 age group because they're a lot more independent. They do get a little sassier at that age, so I feel the older we get, the more I'm like, I don't want to have to correct your behavior. The grade 3-4s, the content's easier to deliver, but they require a lot more hand-holding. So yeah, different age groups for different reasons.
Did you always know that you wanted to be a mom?
Yes, I did. Oddly enough, I listened to the episode you guys talking about how neither of you want to be a mom. And I was cheering both of you on as I was listening to it, because I find that that's so, I don't know, it's a tough decision. Not tough decision, but it's hard to like tell that to people. And you guys talked about that a lot in that episode. And on the flip side of your opinions, I just always knew I wanted to be a mom. Like I was always gravitated towards children. I just always like felt that calling and that pull to me. So yes, short answer, I did know I always wanted to be a mom. I knew that like when I saw my future, I saw kids in it. And if it had nothing to do with finances, I would just continue having babies forever. Like I love raising children. I feel like I'm good at it. I really get fulfillment and joy out of it. So
I could honestly like seeing, like knowing you, and we have mutual friends and seeing your content, but like I can see that in you, and like you. When I see you with your son, like you just glow. Like I can really tell you've always wanted kids, and like thank you for also saying like you understand our opinion, because it is something else that like I see when people like it is their calling, it's what they wanted to do, and that's when I get so excited that those people have kids.
And I know that this episode's not about that topic, but it is crazy. Like so many people pop out babies that I don't know, arguably shouldn't have kids. Like more people should put more thought into it. And if you don't want to have kids, there should be absolutely no pressure to do so, because some people just aren't called to it. And why would you do that if you don't want to?
Yeah. Fitness is a really big portion of your content. What has your journey with fitness look like?
Oh gosh. Wow. So I feel like a lot of people that are competitive athletes growing up, they often do fall into, I don't know, like the fitness world after that, when you kind of give up that competitiveness of a sport that you've been doing throughout high school, and then you have to fill that time with something else. So I feel like that's when I really got into working out. It kind of aligned with the time that my husband was also competing in bodybuilding. So the two of us were just like really heavy into the gym. He was doing bodybuilding shows, so I was like, well, I'll give this a try too. So I, once upon a time, like way, way back, did a bikini bodybuilding show. Did not like it, would not do it again personally. But having that love for fitness, like I've just always loved like programming workouts and taking care of myself, taking care of my body. I always feel better when I'm active and in the gym. So that's kind of how it started. I was just trying to like fill the void of not having the movement of dance after I had graduated high school, was a little bit more busy with university, and that's where it kind of stemmed from. And then in my later adult life, when I started dancing again, I realized that I actually liked teaching adults how to do that as well. So that's how I found myself teaching dance, and then as a result kind of stemming into teaching fitness classes as well. So group fitness, I just love like giving other women, other people that empowerment of feeling the best that you possibly can. And that's how I kind of fell into that role.
Love that. And when you say like, oh, I tried a bikini competition, I hated that, I tried this, like you had so much trial and error as an adult to figure out, okay, what form of fitness do I like?
Totally.
And where do I see myself going with
Yeah.
that? So that's really cool that you took the time to like figure out what you wanted and tried different things.
Even now, like I keep saying to my husband, like I wish there was time for more activities. Like I want to like have heavy strength training days, but I also want to spin and I also want to dance. And I used to be into CrossFit, so I'm like, I just wish that there was more days in the week that I could fit more activities into. And
that.
there's not, so I have to pick and choose a little bit. But
I know. You also did High Rocks last year, right?
yes, I did. And
Sorry, do you want to get her?
yeah,
High
so
Rocks?
High Rocks it's a functional fitness competition. I'm not a runner. It combines 8 kilometers of running with 8 workout stations. So you do a kilometer of running, you do a workout station, and rinse and repeat 8 times. I had friends that had done it, and they were like, it's so much fun, you should really try it. And I was like, is this going to be fun? But it felt like a nice challenge for me. I was still freshly postpartum, or not freshly, but a lot more fresh postpartum when I started training for High Rocks. And I felt like I kind of wanted a goal to set for myself and something to work towards, because I was just finding like I was kind of going into the gym and I had like lost that spark. So I wanted to switch things up a little bit and do something different. So I started training for High Rocks. I was meant to do it as a doubles competition where you split half the work with somebody else. And then my dear friend became pregnant in the early stages of pregnancy before we were meant to compete together. So I ended up doing it by myself. And personally, I did not feel like my fitness level was there to do it on my own, but I had this goal and I had to follow through with it. So I did it. I don't know that I like loved doing it completely on my own, but I was happy that I followed through with it. And
sounds awful.
it was
Yeah, when you're like, what's High Rocks? I'm like, oh my God, you can tell that our algorithms are so different.
Yeah.
All I know.
No, my algorithm knows I would never be doing that.
There's like
8 kilometers of running. You would never catch me dead doing that.
50 meters of burpees halfway through the workout, and I was like seeing stars on my next lap, and I was like, am I going to make it to the finish line?
And
like,
was it outside?
No, it was inside, thank goodness. But yeah, you just like do laps around this venue, and when you have nobody that you're doing it with, you're just in here the whole time.
Yeah.
And there were some dark moments in there, let me tell you. But
Damn. Well, you are very highly motivated, it sounds like. You
Somehow.
set your mind to something and you do it.
yeah, I feel like I have this this fear of failure. So I was like, I can't let people down. I've been documenting this journey on my social media page this whole time. I have to follow through with it. I can't just be like, oh yeah, no longer on the road to High Rocks. So had to follow through with it, and ultimately I'm happy I did. It felt cool, but it was hard. It was hard.
I felt really cool after.
Yeah.
No, yeah, that is so insane to go from partnered High Rocks to singles, but like way to go above and beyond with your goal.
Thank you.
Like
Thank
that is crazy. I don't think I could do it, but like yeah, you really did like okay, well, I set this goal for myself, so I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
That's
Hell
incredible.
Yeah, the easy route would have been to not do it.
Not do it. So, yeah, exactly.
And then your social media, it started as a fitness account?
Yes and no. I kind of I accidentally fell into that during the pandemic. Actually, I've always just been like an oversharer, so I overshare on Instagram all the time. Yeah. And then when COVID hit, I was trying to again just kind of find things to do to keep myself busy. Some friends of mine at the time were doing home workouts and posting them on YouTube. So we started doing these home workouts together, and then we were like, we should post these on Instagram so that other people can do them from home as well. And it just like took off. I went from like 3,000 followers to like 17,000 followers in the span of a couple weeks. And like people were just loving these home workouts. So we would find time to get together, film these home workouts, and then post them on Instagram. And the followers just kept coming in and kept coming in, and people loved it. Like they'd be like, "Thank you so much for giving me something to look forward to, or to do at home when I can't get out and go to the gym." And yeah, so kind of like providing that joy for other people, and that's where it started. And then I just continued oversharing from there, and it's evolved over the years. Of course, like I'm not still posting. Majority of my content is home workouts. But people have, I guess, gained that trust in me over time now, and I still share fitness content in and out of the gym. Dance obviously is a huge part of that. And then I've tried to kind of convert a little bit more to lifestyle as well, just because my son is a huge part of my life, my marriage, my family. So yeah, you'll see just kind of all avenues of myself sprinkled into my Instagram page now.
Yeah. I think it's really grown seamlessly as you've grown. Like it hasn't been like I don't want to do this anymore, so I'm just going to cut to something else. It's really just grown with you, which is really fun to see. Yeah. You mentioned your husband, obviously, and you guys had met at a younger age. Can you tell us a little bit more about your love story?
Okay. He's going to hate that I'm talking about this. No, he'll be fine with it. But we have known each other since we were in grade 8. So, like, we met when we were, like, 13 years old, which is so crazy to think that now we're 31 and 32 and still together, because obviously that has been a lot of growing that we've done over the span of our lives, and we've spent like more than half of our lives together now, which is also crazy to think about. But we didn't start dating until we were in grade 12. He had asked me to be his prom date. By this point, we were like within the same friend circle. We were connected. We had lots of mutual friends and spent lots of time together anyway. He also coached the rugby team that I was playing on at the time, and he was such a sucker. He would drive like 15 minutes out of his way to come pick me up in the morning, and then all the way back at 5 a.m. just to drive me to rugby practice, and I loved it. It was great. But yeah, he asked me to go to prom with him, and then on prom night, he like accidentally called me his girlfriend, and I was like, is that what we are? So we were kind of in denial for a while, because he was going to Western for university, and I was staying in town here to go to Laurier, and we were like, if we don't start dating, then we don't have to break up. And then as we continued spending the whole summer together, it was like, okay, we kind of have to figure this out, because we're in too deep now. So yeah, we did long distance for about 4 years while we were both at school. And then I ended up moving to London to go to teachers college, and we moved in together shortly after that. And then, we've stayed in London ever since, just because we both got hired straight out of school. It was easier to stay there and have jobs than to move back home and be jobless. And yeah, now we have a house. We had our sweet little soul dog and a son together. And yeah, so our lives are just so intertwined now, and he's stuck with me for life.
That's so cute. Yeah. Your story is similar to my story.
That's
like
wild.
Very, very many parallels between our stories.
Yeah,
so that's
I
funny.
feel like you don't get that often anymore. Like you don't, I don't know, find that life partner so young and then continue to grow with one another. Like as people change,
be really hard. Yeah, because people change, and long distance too. Like both of you have dealt with long distance, and that's a huge struggle as well.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it again. Once we closed that chapter, I was like, we can never do this
But
another
it
time.
also helps because we were friends from grade 9 to grade 12. I laughed with would drive you to rugby practice. He would drive me home from school every day in grade
That's
12.
so funny.
So like there was such that strong foundation of friendship that I feel like that made long distance so much easier to do for those years that we were in college, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's a good setup that way. But yeah, would never do it again. It sucked.
Speaking on that, and as you grow, you're obviously going to have identity shifts and outgrowing old versions of yourself. And I think that is part of adulthood, is realizing that you completely changed, or changed a really solid amount without meaning to or even noticing until you hit a certain point. We did ask our audience, would your younger self recognize the current you? 19% said yes, 15% said no, and 67% said some parts. And I do agree with that portion. Definitely some parts I would recognize, but definitely there are parts of me that I thought I would be not further along, but I would be succeeding in a different way. I have different versions of what success means to me, but we'll get into that later. But yeah, Jenny, do you feel like you're the same person you were at like 23, 24?
Absolutely not. I was going to say some parts as well to answer that question. Like, I've grown a lot as a person, but I guess the core, like your values, your morals that stay the same and kind of like are the pillars of who you are as a person, those have not changed and not wavered. But I have obviously grown up a lot, and yeah, definitely not the same version of myself that I was when I was 23, 24. Put a lot of emphasis on different things back then compared to now. And it's just funny how as you grow older, like, before, when I used to spread myself so thin, trying to do everything and hang out with all of my friends, now I'm more than happy to like sit at home and have an evening with my son and my husband at home, and just to see those shifts over time.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And that's the thing with growth, is I feel like it was so much seen as needing to add all of these things onto your life. And sometimes growth is more so about removing those things from your life and realizing what things aren't serving you and aren't fitting your current self. Taking those away is also a form of growth.
Yeah. I feel a lot more grounded now, I guess, in my 30s as to who I am as a person, versus when you're in your early 20s, you're still trying to figure that out. And I guess like lock down what you value and what your morals are, and trying to shape that adult version of yourself that's no longer living at home under your parents' roof, and like your independence. So I feel like back then, when we're all trying to just explore and see what we actually like to do and value in life, now that's kind of all solidified and a little bit more grounded.
I think my experience is a touch different. Like, I knew what I liked, and I was so certain I was just gonna bulldoze into all of those things, like go really hard. And then certain things happened and things changed. And then, yeah, you like move out and you experience different things and you meet different people. And then you change in ways you really weren't expecting to. And I had to make adjustments to what I liked or what I could do, what was available to me at the time. And that's where I'm finding in my late 20s to early 30s now, that's where the most shift has happened. Like, I really thought I was going to be career oriented, and I kind of like my husband too much to be extremely career oriented and like be obsessed with work. But yeah, or just different dreams. Like, you were a very competitive dancer in high school, and I was competitive horseback rider. And I like also thought that I would be in that as my career. And I really had to take a few adjustments through college, just trying to figure out what I even wanted to do.
Yeah.
And that can be pretty hard too.
Yeah. And I think it's also okay to acknowledge that something that you may have thought you wanted to see yourself doing maybe actually doesn't fit what you want, and it's okay to accept that. Maybe you thought you really wanted something in your 20s, and now in your 30s you're realizing, I want nothing to do with that. That doesn't make sense. That's okay. You can accept that. You don't have to be exactly what you thought you wanted to be and do when you were 20 years old.
Okay, so we kind of talked about this too. And like you mentioned, you grew up a competitive dancer and now teach adult dance classes. Has your vision of what dance would look like in your life changed over time? I think you did mention that.
Yeah, I definitely think it has. Like, growing up as a competitive dancer, a lot of the focus was on performance-based, and being like, I don't know, winning the dance competition, getting the highest score that you can. Like, it's all just on how you can be the most polished on stage. And for a while, I stopped dancing because there's so much pressure that comes along with that, and having that mindset for so long, there is a point where it starts to not become so fun anymore. So as I got older, dance became a lot less about proving something and more just about joy and expression, confidence and community. As I mentioned earlier, like the dance studio is such a safe space for us, and I've met so many friends there. A lot of my closest friends right now, actually. So yeah, it's just nice to like, it's more so for connection and expression and like feeling good about myself now versus how I can win this competition.
Yeah, how to look good for like the judges and
Yeah,
other people.
exactly.
Do you think growth is usually intentional or something that just happens to you?
Ooh, I feel like it's a bit of both. Like, I think that you can consciously know that you want to grow and maybe change out of a version of yourself that you might be living, but maybe not the most proud of. But I also do think that it happens slowly over time. Like, there's not one thing that happens that changes you to grow as a person, but little movements and little steps forward through your life, like becoming a parent, experiencing loss, heartbreak, career shifts, all those things kind of change you and add to growth as you get older, but you don't plan for those things. So yeah, at the end of the day, I feel like it's kind of both. Like you can consciously want to grow and change, but a lot of it just happens naturally over time.
Some things happen so quickly that they force you to grow up in a way that you didn't expect to.
You're very well spoken, Jenny.
I know. I'm like,
Everything you say, I'm like,
do you want to replace my spot on the podcast?
do you want to write a book? I need to read all of your thoughts. Holy shit.
I know. I'm like, I don't even have any responses because they're so good.
Oh, I'm so flattered. Thank you.
God.
Have you ever felt guilty for changing?
Ooh, no, I don't think so. Like for change itself, I think that growth and change is something to celebrate. Like I'm grateful that I'm not the same person that I was 10 years ago or even 5 years ago. What can feel really hard sometimes is like not realizing that everybody grows with you. And I'd say, so it's not so much guilt for changing, but it's almost like sadness that some people you used to have in your life don't continue on that journey with you. Like they were in your life for a season and not for the long term. So I feel like that's been one of the hardest things, but I don't think that I feel guilty about that because I can't continue on in relationships if it's not serving me any longer. And in order to experience that growth and like achieve who I want to be as a person, I need to be okay with that and continue moving on through my life. So I feel like I won't ever apologize for growing and moving forward. But yes, it can take some time, I guess, to adjust to growth.
Yeah, I think that's a hard one to grasp as it's happening. Like we had an audience question, what changed the most with age, friendship, career, health, or family? And 65% said friendship. And we did have a friendship episode, but I know as you're going through those changes and you're seeing the difference of, I think especially because at least when I was young, I had friends that like you'd see almost every day or you'd see several times a week, and they were really entwined in your life. And then you either go to college or get a new job and you don't see them as often, and then you have to learn different ways to keep in touch.
For sure.
And especially now when we have long distance friendships, it might be months until you see this person, and the relationship is so different, but you can't stay the same. You can't move with them.
Yeah.
And so you both have to grow to be able to continue to feed the relationship, which can be really difficult. And you could feel guilty, definitely feel guilty if you're the one changing or you're the one moving and like you're the reason why this friendship isn't exactly how it used to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, it does. I think, like you said, I think it just takes time to realize that growth is natural and that's how you develop as a person.
And growth is also about realizing that not every single friendship you've made needs to go into every single chapter of your life. Sometimes friendships are just meant for certain stages and certain chapters of your life. So accepting that that maybe isn't a friendship for the next chapter is okay.
Absolutely.
And then if it's one that you want to keep feeding that, then you keep feeding that.
Yeah.
And it's the same energy of like, not every version of you is going to come with you into the next decade too, right?
Totally.
You're constantly evolving and growing, and so what you bring forward is your choice, and you can't bring every single person you've been from your 20s on, because it changes so much.
I feel like it takes a lot of like recognizing what type of friend you are as well, because like I'm really good. I am a great proximity friend. When you are close to me, I will see you all the time. We will hang out a lot. I'm not great at keeping up with long distance friendships. Like I have a few that I can manage really well, but for the most part, like my close circle is really nearby me. I have to be okay with knowing that like my relationships will shift if my friends are moving away, or like we're not going to see each other as often, and those daily routines that we might be used to are going to change. So kind of like coming to terms with that and being okay with that as well. I had one friend who we were really, really close when we were both at the same phase in our life, and then I became a mom long before she did. And there was a few months where we still kept up with one another, but not often, not frequently. We were just kind of in different periods of time in our own journeys at that point. And now she's a new mom, and the two of us have kind of gravitated back towards one another now because we have a lot more in common. And that's okay too. Like you can kind of grow apart from people and then come back later in life. For me, I feel like I just put value on not having bad blood with people or with friendships. So if things grow and change, just making sure that we're always civil with one another and always kind and caring, because then if that friendship does come back into your life, then you can nurture that and exactly, like grow with that as your life changes.
That's beautifully said.
Thank you.
And I mean, that's something that Ellen and I experienced. Our relationship has ebbed and flowed. We've known each other for 8 years, and there's been times in our lives where we're in different stages and we're not in close proximity, and that fell out, and then we come back together. And just like you said, there was never bad blood. There was never anything that happened. It just flowed with our lives, and now we're back.
Start as friends.
No.
But yeah, like never had bad blood, never had anything bad to say. Yeah, we just kind of paved the road for a friendship to happen, which was very nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so with competitive dance, you had said you thought you were going to do that as a career. Was there a time where when you realized this is no longer feasible?
Yeah. So I feel like with dancing, it's one of those things that you age out of very quickly. Like to have a career in it, you're having a career in dance really young. And once I was in a committed relationship with Greg, my priorities kind of shifted. Like I obviously still adored dancing, but I kind of realized like I don't want to take myself away from this relationship in order to pursue that dream anymore. So it just kind of changed naturally. And although it was still something that I would have liked to do, I was more okay with staying home and I guess continuing to nurture that relationship and build the future that I could feel that we were having and working towards with one another. So I feel like the desire to have that and the future, the family, just kind of started to outweigh the desire to be far away on a cruise ship or dancing somewhere. I'm also so much of a homebody myself. And like I said, I keep my circle close to me. So the thought of being so far away from everybody important to me in my life also started to just scare the bejeebies out of me. So I was like, I don't know. Like there's other ways that I can fulfill that need and want to have dance in my life without having to uproot myself and make a whole bunch of other changes in my life.
And to me, that sounds less like giving up something that you wanted to do and rather you realize that your priorities are shifting.
Absolutely.
And it's not something that actually makes sense for the future that you want to build.
Yeah. Like there's no part of me that felt like I gave up on that or that I was missing out on that. Because like I said, I still largely have dance in my life. So it's just kind of, it just shifted. The way that I valued it and the way that I saw it just changed over time.
So I can definitely relate to dreams and goals that I felt I've abandoned because I did grow up competitive as well, and I was at the barn like 3 to 4 times a week, and I worked at the barn, and I really thought a future was going to be horses and riding competitively. And yeah, you start to leave a life of your parents are paying for things and you realize that you have to start paying for things, or you have to start getting paid for things. And none of those things are happening. So I had to realize different dreams for myself and kind of shift. But I think I still kind of feel like there is this life in another universe that I formed for myself and that I feel like is just out there. And I don't even ride right now because I have back problems and I've had several concussions. So the risk is greater for brain damage. And
We don't like that.
No.
and so there's definitely so many things like, yes, I could, similar to you, still be with horses in a different sense. And that is something that I can always go back to, but it is something that I have to mold in a way that I am also still happy with.
And so I was a competitive dancer growing up as well.
We are the
Are you
same.
twins?
I
Yeah,
know.
What in the world?
We've lived the same lives. So it's really interesting with things like competitive dance, horseback riding, hockey, rugby, all these things that you do when you're a kid, like into high school, so heading into your adult life, are very niche careers. Like it's very rare that the things that you do for sport as a kid is something you turn into your life.
Yes.
But the problem is, as a kid, you think that's going to be your life.
And nobody warns you that it's not. Like nobody
No.
says, hey, this is going to change drastically.
Exactly.
You're not going to have time for this in university.
And you also need to be the best of the best to succeed at that thing. Like no one's getting drafted to like the OHL, NHL easily. That is something that is so much time, money, like such a huge commitment, and you just naturally have to be really fucking good at it.
Yeah.
So that's always a crazy thing to me too, is like all these kids have these dreams to be a professional hockey player, be a professional dancer, but it's not easily attainable.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that needs a reminder, is like kind of sucks, but like you can't always turn your hobbies into your career.
Right.
So you do have to grow into both. You have to find your careers and then still find a way to do your hobbies. And you've done that pretty well seamlessly, which is awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, I couldn't imagine it not being that way, honestly. Like I was, as you were saying that, I was just thinking like, what would be an example of that you loved so much, but like couldn't happen casually. And that would be heartbreaking. Like that would be really hard to come to terms with. I was also thinking like how many therapists are talking with clients about this, like getting over that desire to become a professional at something and having to be okay with not, because I could imagine that a lot of people struggle with that and that they're not okay with parting with that in some avenue.
We did ask our audience, has there been a dream or goal you had to abandon due to changing priorities? Someone mentioned the traditional future of like owning a house, growing a family while they're still young, having a picket fence type of thing. There were a lot of working on job specialties, like advancing more in your career. And definitely a few people mentioned that, similar to you, they don't have dreams that they feel they have abandoned, but it's changed to fit their new values. Like you said, I think it would be really hard to realize that the version of success you were chasing maybe wasn't even yours to begin with. And now we have to alter our expectation of what our life is going to be like from there.
So Jenny, do you think the definition of success looks different now than it looked, let's say, 5 years ago?
Yeah, I would definitely say so. If I were to reflect back, I would say that I feel more successful now than I did 5 years ago, which is funny because on paper, maybe younger me wouldn't have measured it the same way. But when I think back, I used to tie success to a lot of outside validation, like social media, approval from other people, what people thought of me, whether I was impressive to other people or not, or even just like little things like getting attention. But now I look at success a lot differently. I don't know. And I guess this is just part of maturing too. But like success for me now is, do I feel fulfilled? Do I feel like I'm being a good mom, a good partner, a good friend? Am I growing in a way that I'm proud of? And do people around me feel loved and validated and like want to spend time with me? So I feel like the shift has gone from like wanting to feel that validation large scale to now just focusing more on like the close circle, who's around me, who I interact with day to day, and whether I'm like proud of that version that I'm becoming or not. But yeah, so I guess success that I would have felt 5 years ago does look a lot different than it does now. I feel like even in like a more softer way, like, did I make my kids smile today? I don't really care what 13,000 people on the internet are thinking of me anymore. Like, you can like me or you cannot, but do the people in my life find value in me and enjoy spending time with me? And I feel like I put a lot more success or a lot more emphasis on that in terms of success than outside validation now.
Although it's changed a lot for you, like instead of getting followers or likes or I don't know, money or anything, but like the list that you had said, the good wife, good mother, good friend, like that is still a lot of stuff.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. Like you were listing that off and I'm like, that is actually very, very hard to attain. And even if your friends, your husband, your son are like, she's wonderful, I love her, the feeling that is so heavy you can put on yourself is, I don't feel like I'm being a good enough XYZ.
Totally. Yeah. And I definitely do feel that pressure, I would say. It is hard to wear all hats at once. So I don't know, finding balance in that is so important. If you are wanting to make a lasting impact with all of those avenues that you're in, then you do have to find what works best for you and find that balance across all of them.
Do you have a little secret?
Oh God. I don't know. When you first approached me about this, I remember reading like what you had said to me and I was like, wow, you think I have it all figured out. And I love that because a lot of times I don't feel like I have it all figured out. And it is nice to hear it, I guess, from some people. Like my dad will say to me often as well that he's so proud of who I am and how much I'm pouring into being a mom and how I can still continue having hobbies on top of that. And he's like, you're so social, you go out and you do this, you're good at your career. And I feel like I don't think actively about that, about myself often enough. Like I don't give myself enough credit, I guess.
Yeah. As women, we never do.
Yeah, so it is nice to hear it every once in a while because you forget that you are doing a good job and that you actually are winning at life. Like you're doing what you set out to do. So that makes me feel good, like reflecting back on that. But I guess a secret, I don't know. It takes a lot of practice. Like I haven't always been able to have like this balance in life that I do have now. It took a lot of trial and error of like how much time is an appropriate amount of time to spend with my friends versus how much do I need to pour into nurturing my relationship with my husband. And it just like other avenues in life, you go through seasons where you may not be great at all of those avenues. And when life gets tricky, some of those will start to give and you will drop the ball in some places. And I just feel like giving yourself some grace and being easy on yourself is super important as well. Like if you are trying to juggle too many things, recognize that. Maybe take a step back, say no to some things, minimize your calendar a little bit. So just reminders that it's okay to give yourself that space.
It is so hard to say no though. Like, especially for me, like I have a really hard time to say I have put too much on my plate. The last few times Andrew has had to come up to me and been like, you can't do this. Like you have to say no to this. And I'm like, but I want to do X, Y, Z. And he's just like, you can't right now, or you have to put something else off.
Yeah.
Like he's really good at recognizing that I don't want to say no. I want my plate to be full. Like I really like a full plate. And he's just like, your eyes are bigger than your stomach.
Yeah. One habit that I've gotten the practice of doing, because I used to say all the time, people would ask me to do things and I'd be like, yeah, that should work. I'll commit to that and I'll check my calendar later. And then it would backfire on me because next thing you know, my calendar is so filled up. So one practice that I've put into place is rather than promising and then having to either retract that later or oversell myself and like spread myself too thin, I'll say, let me look at my calendar before I commit. So I will take that time to pause, go home, think about whether that's going to work in my life or not, and then let somebody know if whatever plan they were asking me about can happen or not, because I am also not the type of person that likes to bail on things. So once I say yes to something, I'm going to follow through with it. And that's tough too, because then you can find yourself being spread really thin if you're over promising and then under delivering. So yeah, just I guess having that space and like making sure that you are checking in with yourself. Like, can I do this? Can I make time for that before you're promising other people your time?
That's a great piece of advice.
Yeah.
I like the say maybe, go home, think about it, make sure, is this going to work for my current schedule?
Yeah.
Do I want to go? Like,
Right.
that's something so valid to consider.
Yeah.
Is that something I actually want to attend? Taking just a minute to think about it
Yeah.
before you actually commit is a really great thing to do.
Sometimes when you're put on the spot, it's hard to say no in front of somebody's face, or like, so having a go-to tagline, like, that sounds really fun, but let me go home and check my calendar first before I commit to it, rather than just saying yes and then going, oh no, how am I going to get out of this?
Yeah, exactly. And as a friend, I would rather someone say, let me look to see if it works, let me get back to you, rather than yes and then later bail.
Absolutely.
I wanted to quickly circle back to the comment you had made about how you don't care what your followers think about you, because I think it's really hard as content creators, and obviously we're much newer to this than you are, but it can come off sometimes like hypocritical when we say that we don't care about those things.
Yeah.
It's like, well, you're making this content for people. You want
You must
people
care
to
a little
absorb
bit.
that and respond and get views and likes and followers. And of course, there's that balance, right? We do want to get views and likes and followers. That's great. But also at the end of the day, how it's being perceived is not going to be the downfall to us, right?
Absolutely.
And I think being a content creator at whatever level that looks like for you in this stage, you kind of have to not care what people think about you. I think if Ellen had come to me 5 years ago and asked if I wanted to do this, 100% I would have said no, because
Yeah.
I cared way too much about what people thought about me and how I was going to be perceived. So yes, we need people to watch our content, but also at the end of the day, if you don't like it, if it's not for you, I'm not going to be beat up about it.
Totally. And like, I don't know, even if people don't like what you're putting out there, like, let them. Not everybody is going to like it. You're not going to be everybody's cup of tea. And I think that there's a lot, like, maturing, you start to realize that. And there's a lot of value in being okay with that, because we can't please everybody. And if we're constantly trying to, then we're just going to run ourselves into the ground too. So it can be a tricky balance, but I feel like in terms of social media, it does pay off a lot too when you do find even like one or two people that find value in what you are doing and what you're giving to the internet. I don't know, for example, like I post a lot of activewear, and it's really easy sometimes to put on an outfit and be like, I don't look like this extra small that wears this on the website. But then I have to remind myself, like, that's why people follow me. Like, they're finding the value in that. So if I cared about what people thought about that, like if somebody is going to look at me and be like, oh, she shouldn't be wearing that because she's not an extra small or what have you, then I wouldn't have that confidence to post and to provide that value to the people that are consuming it and finding that and feeling seen because of that. So it takes some time, it takes some practice, but it definitely is, I don't know, it's freeing, like, not caring. And
yeah, a 40-year-old man reviewing your content isn't going to be like, wow, I resonate with this. So nice
Right.
to see this. It's those women who don't feel seen, that have those mid-sized bodies. And like you said, don't look like that 100-pound fitness model. So your audience is those women who want to be seen and be heard and feel more comfortable in their skin because they see you living your best life, glowing in what you're wearing, right? Like, that's what you're there for, and that's never going to be for everyone.
yeah, and it's tough because like there hasn't always been space carved out in the fitness world for people that look average, and like you don't have to be a competitive bodybuilder or a competitive athlete to be considered an athlete. And I feel like a lot of people don't recognize that. Like, you can still be very prevalent in a sport or an activity, and hold space there without being top tier.
We kind of touched on it a little bit when you described what success means to you now. But when you picture the person you aim to be now, what does she look like?
Okay, the person that I aim to be, I guess to echo like what I did say before, she's a patient mom, a caring partner, a good, reliable friend, and somebody who feels grounded and shows up well for the people in my life. And honestly, I feel like in that sense, you just have to live the version of who you aim to be every day. A lot of building habits comes with just doing things repetitively over time. So if you're constantly trying to strive to live the way you want to be and live that version of yourself, you're going to become that version of yourself in doing that day after day.
Just to add on, like something that I've really tried to step into is finding the small things in my life that I had pictured, the espresso I make every morning in this house that I've created, and coming home to a husband that honestly is every part of a relationship that I wanted.
Yeah.
And just really absorbing the things that I saw for myself and now have.
I think growth is realizing that having a slower style life can be a fulfilled and beautiful life as well. And I know with me being kind of non-traditional in some ways, like the fact that I don't want a family is very non-traditional. I also am traditional in other senses. I wanted a marriage, I wanted a home, and I find so much happiness in like tending to my gardens, having a barbecue on Sunday with my husband. Like there's so much beauty in just having that slow, happy life as well, and that can be very fulfilling for you.
Yeah, I feel like hustle culture was like shoved down our throats so much growing up. And now as adults, we are realizing that like we don't want to be constantly on the go. Like we want to have our toes in the hobbies that we like and the things that we love doing, but we don't want that to feel like our life is a rush the entire time.
Yeah. Psychologists often describe your late 20s and early 30s as a period of identity reconstruction where personal values become more internally driven instead of socially driven, which I really what's the word I'm looking for?
There's so many. I don't know.
Oh my god.
All the words.
But yeah, I very much resonate with that. I feel
Resonate
like,
is the word I was
oh my god.
That's the one. Ding, ding, ding.
You took it.
Actually,
you took it
that's
for
the
yourself.
exact word I
So
wanted,
many
and
words.
you fucking took it. Of all the words I could have said, I'm done. Do you want to take it back?
Nope,
Do you
go
wanna
ahead.
use it?
Love it.
Yeah, I very much resonate with that because I feel like a lot of your 20s is like you're trying to figure out what you can do to be liked by people, to fit in socially. And then your 30s just kind of get to the point where it's like, do I even like you? Do I even care what you think? Like, honestly, you care so
Yeah.
much about what these strangers on the street think about you, distant family, whoever else. Like, you have all of these thoughts in your head of, I need to look this certain way for this certain person. And I'm finally, I would say maybe the last year of my life, I'm finally hitting the point where I'm like, I genuinely don't care anymore. I'm going to do what
Yeah.
I want to do for myself. I just don't care what you think.
And how do we get this cheat code earlier? Like how can we get this earlier in life and start just living to live instead of living to prove ourselves? Or
I don't think you can. I think your frontal
just what we
cortex
have
needs
to
to
do.
get developed.
we have to be in our 30s to realize this.
And I'm sure 10 years from now we're going to be like, we didn't even know.
Yeah, right. We'll look back at this and we'll be like, oh, we still had so much growing to do.
You silly ladies. You don't even fucking know. I do think that one of the hardest parts of adulthood is learning how to balance everything at once between your goals, your relationships, your responsibilities, and then somehow make space for yourself in the middle of it all. As we've said multiple times, Jenny, seems like I have it all figured out. You're a wife, you're a mother, you have careers, hobbies, time to socialize. Do you think balance is something we actually achieve or something that we're like continuously adjusting?
I think it's something that we are definitely continuously adjusting because what might feel balanced for you yesterday might not feel balanced for you a week from now or a year from now. So I definitely do think it's something that changes with us. Something could feel balanced, and then as you grow and change, all of a sudden the way that you've been living life doesn't work for you anymore. So you have to find a new balance and you have to adjust things. So yes, I don't think that it is a constant by any means.
And I think it's something that can change day to day and also change, you know, a year from now, 5 years from now.
Totally.
But I even talked about it in our burnout episode, the last one. So if you haven't listened to it, go take a listen. But it's kind of percentages, right? Each day you can decide how much do I want to allot myself to different things. Do I want to give, you know, 50% to my relationship, 10% to exercise? Like you can choose each day what you're going to fill your cup with. And every day that is going to look different. It's inevitable.
Yeah.
I think just giving grace to that also, like that adjustment, that's something that I really struggle with is, okay, I'm really good one week at going to the gym, the times I want to go to the gym and looking at my balance on my bank account to make sure everything is where I need it to be. And then I get so frustrated when one week doesn't look like that. If I have to not go to the gym because I'm like, I didn't go to the gym a lot this week because I was injured, and I just get so flustered with that. But one thing I'm trying to grow into is just giving myself a little bit of grace because I have made these habits, so I know I'll go back to them. I just need to take a hot minute.
And the thing is, you can set a goal for yourself of what percentages you want to allot to whatever that day. And it's okay if that doesn't actually succeed. If you don't hit those percentages, that's fine. Again, like you said, give yourself grace. It's fine if the goal you set, you didn't achieve 100%. You're constantly learning and growing and evolving. So it's okay if you didn't succeed 100% today to fill your cup the way you wanted to.
And not every week is going to be a perfect week either. So I feel like we just have to be okay with flexibility. Like you're not always going to be able to hit the gym 5 times a week. And if life gets in the way, that's okay. But exactly like you said, if it's something that you value, you've created that habit, you're going to come back to it. It's not going to be gone forever. You still remember how to do it. And it can fit back into your routine and your day when life allows it to.
Yeah.
And I think as women, we do instinctually become really hard on ourselves and we beat ourselves up for not achieving and succeeding the things that we want to. So I think slowing down and allowing yourself to fail is very important for your growth as well. Have you ever gone through a season where everything felt emotionally or mentally stretched?
Oh gosh. Okay. Yes. Very recently, actually, as I was scanning through these questions, I was like, that is literally me right now. Like, I feel I've only started to just recently come back to feeling a little more like myself. 2025 was a beautiful year. It was an awesome year for our family. For me, like we had a lot of successes. We got to travel. There was lots to celebrate and lots of good things going on in our lives. And then since the start of 2026, it's just felt like one hard challenge after another. We have lost like 5 people close to us in our lives since January. Our dog passed away a couple months ago. So there's just been a lot of grief and change that we have been going through over the last 5 months. And then on top of that, navigating that through motherhood. Like my 2.5-year-old constantly asks, like, where's Nana? Where's Grandma? Why are we going to Nana's house and Nana's not there? Or like our dog that he's grown up with his entire life, like, where's Braun? So trying to navigate grief that I'm feeling, but also trying to teach it to my son at the same time. Oh my God. Has been really challenging.
Chills.
Oh, it's
like I've experienced grief and that's a challenge on its own. I can't even imagine going through the grief and trauma myself and in that same stage having to explain it to a child who doesn't understand.
Yeah. Like he's been to 2 funerals in the last 2 months, and like that's more than any 2-year-old's gone to in their lives a lot of times. Like it's just it has been a series of events that we couldn't have predicted for this year. Lots of things that we weren't expecting and kind of having to navigate through that. But yeah, challenges, grief, pressure. Life doesn't slow down when all of that is happening as well. So like I still have demanding deadlines at work. I still have to show up as a good teacher for all of the little minds that I'm shaping in my classroom. I have to be a good coworker. So there's a lot that was going on. We found that we were just like drowning in laundry, drowning in house stuff. Everything was piling up. It's really easy to put your relationship on the back burner in moments like that too. Like if things get tense and you have to kind of remember to like carve out that time and we remind ourselves often that we're on the same team. Like, we're not against each other here. We're trying to get through this together. We were drowning in laundry, traveling constantly. We weren't making time for ourselves. I think a lot of people can relate to the mindset of, once we get through this, life's going to be better. And like, the finish line is in sight. We just need to make it past this next funeral and everything's going to go up from there. And then something else happens and it knocks you back down. So we were just constantly pushing back that finish line. And I was operating on autopilot. So it definitely was a time that I was feeling mentally and emotionally stretched thin. And it takes a lot of mental strength to come out of that and pull yourself out of those times. But yeah, only just started feeling like myself again in the last couple of weeks. But the seasons definitely reminded me that burnout doesn't always have to look dramatic. Sometimes it just looks like surviving your own life for a while until you can come up for a breath of fresh air, and that getting back to yourself takes intention. So like getting myself back to the gym, back to the spin classes, back to things that make me happy so that I can feel like myself again was really important. So yeah, trying to keep my routine, I guess, as like normal as I possibly could while everything else was crumbling around us was a huge lifesaver in that season.
There's a lot to take in with that, a lot of good takeaways and just a lot of realness of how tough life can get. And I think one of the hardest things when we talk about grief and loss is the fact that the world does not stop.
Oh yeah,
like you need to show up for people still. You have to show up for yourself. The world doesn't pause until you feel okay again.
Yeah, and you can be feeling like so down in a day and nobody outside of yourself knows how you're feeling, which is also kind of tough. Like I don't know, you sometimes walk around expecting people to like know that you're really sad that day or know what you're going through, and they don't. So it's really weird trying to navigate that too. Like, how can so-and-so be asking me to go for drinks when I'm having like the worst experience of my life right now? But people don't always know. And unless you've gone through it yourself or in that same phase of life and experiencing that as well, you don't always know what other people need or what they're going through.
Yes. And grief is very much about balance as well, because sometimes it is, yes, just being in survival mode, your brain just doing the absolute bare minimum tasks you have to do to get through the day, and then slowly taking the time to rebuild your life again and add things back in and start feeling like yourself. It's a really big challenge, but it's one of those things that we say that's growth that is kind of unintentional because you get thrown into it.
Yes.
So you have to figure out how to navigate and work through that when you weren't planning on having to do that.
100%. Yeah.
And it also alters your expectations in life too, because you do see how quickly things change. And although we don't always want to make that like a life motto of like life is too short, because you still need to plan for like retirement and when you get older. But it really is, if you have the opportunity to do certain things, try to. Because, like when you go through, especially as much as you did, like especially in that short amount of time, it really puts into perspective how fast things change and how short life is. And that can also alter how you want to show up in life in different ways.
Definitely. Like, I don't know, there's lots of things that can make you realize just how precious life is, but grief and loss is one that really does that to people. And lots of people say it, but you don't really often realize it until you're in it yourself.
When you're on the other end of it, you do have so much gratitude for everything you've taken away from it. Like after I lost my mom, of course, horrible going through it, very challenging, a lot of struggles. But now that I'm on that tail end of it, I look at so many things so differently, and I am grateful to at least now have that perspective.
Maintaining balance while you're going through grief too is huge. And in order to do that, I feel like it takes a lot of self-reflection, like recognizing that you're going through a hard time and like accepting the help, asking yourself like what needs to change, what support do I need, what am I neglecting in my life, and then actively focusing on those things and reaching out to people, asking for the help, and knowing that that's okay, I feel like is huge too. Because if we let those things consume us, then we are losing that balance. We're losing our routine. All of a sudden, like a really hard time is made even harder because we just can't keep ourselves steady through that moment. So I feel like that's huge as well. And a lot of people don't self-reflect in that moment. It's hard to do so. But yeah, it can really help kind of maintain some normalcy in those times.
I think how you mentioned success means to you, especially of being a good friend and a good person in other people's lives in times of grief of your own, I think it can take a second for yourself and reach out to people in your life for them to have a chance to be that person to you. So I think that's really important. And that's something that's really hard to do, especially in those times of grief.
Do you think that social media has changed people's expectation of what balance should look like?
It's also an interesting question because you are a content creator that shares everything about your life. So as your audience, because I've been following you for a while, it does seem like you have everything, but you are really good with sharing those tough times as well.
Yeah, I do think social media has definitely changed the perception of what balance should look like. I feel like the most obvious thing is it's really easy to compare ourselves to people that we see online, and to say, well, if they can do it, I should be able to do it. And we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to hit an unrealistic standard. And lots of us do that. It's a very common pattern to fall into. And I feel like it, again, takes some self-reflection, and you have to recognize that, like, I'm holding myself to a high standard that's almost impossible to achieve. Like, this mom that I'm comparing myself to online, she has 3 nannies and a housekeeper, and of course her kitchen can look like it's unlived in, but that's not my reality. Like, she's not a working mom who is doing many things on top of that and still trying to maintain a household and to be present with her partner and kid. So I feel like when we find ourselves comparing on social media, that we need to take a step back and remind ourselves of that, like remind ourselves that this is unrealistic. That's not how most people are living. And then maybe take a break even. Like, whenever I find myself being like, oh, my house isn't big enough, oh, my house isn't clean enough, or like, wow, I'm not making the nicest dinners for my son, I need to take a step back and like take a little break from my phone and remind myself, like, he is fed every night. He has food in his belly before he goes to sleep. I can keep the electricity on in our house. We have a roof over our head. And then try and shift that perspective, like be grateful for how far I have come and what we do have in our lives, because we are very fortunate, but it's easy to forget that when we're constantly comparing ourselves to unrealistic ideals on social media.
I think that's a great way to say touch grass.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
I think that's going to be our new catchphrase.
Yeah, touch grass. And it is nice to see a shift in content creators like you that are being more real about their lives, a lot more behind the scenes, a lot more honesty, which is really nice, because I feel like for the longest time, so many content creators, it was like a performative happiness,
Absolutely.
a performative success. Like, none of it really felt fully authentic. And you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. You don't know what happens when that camera turns off.
Yeah.
I feel like we've seen multiple documentaries about like social media families that were absolutely miserable
Yes.
behind the scenes, and they just put on this show for people. So it's so refreshing to have people like you that can show everyone this is the realistic life for someone living our lifestyle.
Thank you. Yeah. I like, life's way too short to care so much or put that much pressure on ourselves. Like, but it is easy to fall into those patterns. Like, there's been times where I'm like, oh, my side table next to my couch isn't clean. Like, I need to clean that up before I'm going to film this video. And it's so much easier to just like let go of that and accept that, like, again, going back to like, somebody else is going to resonate with that. Somebody's going to be like, oh, look, her house has a little bit of mess in it.
True.
That's
Yeah,
normal.
Such a good way to say that. Yeah, absolutely.
It's like a breath of fresh air.
Yeah. So like, I don't know, to me, if it ever feels like I'm trying to like adjust my life in order to show up on social media, then what's the point? Like, what's the point? Because then, I'm not being authentic. I'm not being myself. I'm being a version of me that only exists on Instagram. And that's not what I set out to be and what I'm striving to be. So
Oh, we love that.
Screw that.
I think we'd all really love to know what habits or boundaries have helped you protect your peace while managing multiple responsibilities.
Okay, this is huge. I used to suck at this, and I could feel it. Like, I would be burnt out, I'd be run down, the weekend would come around, I wouldn't be like a nice, kind version of myself. When I started to feel that, I was like, listen, something's got to give. Like, I can't do all of this. So one important boundary is just like being okay with saying no, being okay with the fact that I'm not always going to be able to go to every party or every event or every like social media event that I get invited to. And that's okay. Like I have a career on top of that, and I'm not going to be available in the middle of the day. Or if I feel like I need some downtime, like it's okay to say I've had a really busy week. I'm just going to stay home for the weekend. I used to be really bad at that, and I would try and schedule myself like 3 different events in a day and run from point A to point B to point C. And I just felt awful after. Like I didn't feel good. I felt tired. I'd have other things piled up on top of it, and it wasn't a nice way to live.
I think too, when like what you were saying of not going from A, B to C, you're not going to show up the way you want to, and you're not going to be able to absorb your surroundings or the people that are there. You're not going to be able to get the most out of that experience anyway if you're just like, I need to get out in 30 minutes.
Yeah. So it's not fun for you. It's not as fun for the other people there. Sometimes it's a lot better to do a little less, but be present and be 100% invested in the activities that you are doing. I feel like therapy has really helped me with this a lot too.
Nice.
Like I talk about this a lot with my therapist. Like I feel bad when I let people down, or I feel like if I say no to something, I am letting somebody down. And a lot of it is like assuming that I'm letting somebody down. Like they don't actually feel let down, but
100%.
I'm projecting that feeling that I'm having for myself. And these are all just habits that we've learned and created for ourselves over time. So yeah, just kind of like trying to give myself more grace, be a little bit more gentle. I am a diehard for a schedule and calendar and making sure that I have some times reserved for myself and for that downtime, because I know that I love being social. I love going out to do things, but there's a fine line. And if I cross that line, then I'm feeling that burnout and I'm feeling like I'm no longer the best version of myself. So little habits, like my husband and I, Friday nights are ours. Like nothing happens on Friday nights unless it's an absolute must that we have to go do something. Otherwise, we're at home on the couch. And
Same.
Yeah. And,
Honestly,
same. It's huge. Reset
It's
after
our
a
espresso
week.
martini
yeah,
night.
like
Yeah.
ours is like
I'm going to add espresso martinis to mine. Are you kidding me?
yeah, like we
Do you want one of those next?
Yeah, I always look forward to coming home on a Friday night. Like I text Andrew at like 4:00 and I'm like, I'm almost done. It's almost time to chill out and hang out. And we watch whatever we've been meaning to watch. And yeah, we have some gummies. We make a fun dinner, and we really take in Friday nights for ourselves. Like it is so much fun to just be like, we can just relax tonight and just hang out and enjoy each other's
Exactly.
presence.
Yeah. So I think like on top of the saying no is just knowing that you need some protected time. Like you need to spend that time with yourself or with just like your close-knit family that's going to make you feel good. I guess another habit that I've gotten into doing is trying to weave my social life in with the habits and activities that I'm already doing. So like I have a lot of social life at the dance studio when I go teach dance or attend dance classes. I'll try and work out with friends so that I feel like I'm having that social gathering, but also doing something that makes me feel good for my body, my mental health. So trying to like kill two birds with one stone, I guess.
Like market days too. Go to the market with your friends.
Do your groceries, but you're doing it with somebody else. Like there's no reason why we can't do those
there's
everyday
so many
tasks.
little ways you can do that. Yeah.
It doesn't always have to be like a huge planned thing. Like you can just say, hey, I'm going to the grocery store, going to the market. Do you want to come with me? And then boom, there you go. Social gathering and social outing and groceries.
That was great advice.
Do you have any advice you would give to someone who feels like they're constantly falling behind?
I'd say like, I don't know, I've echoed it a lot. Like be easy on yourself, give yourself grace. There's no timeline in life. And I feel like this is something that's also been shoved down our throats for so long, is that like, when we are goal oriented and we set those 5-year, 10-year goals for ourselves, it's hard if your life isn't shaping out to be exactly what you imagined it to be. But everyone progresses at different times and goes through walks of life at different times. So it's tough, but we just have to kind of like shift that mindset and recognize what we should be grateful for and should value versus thinking about all the things we haven't achieved yet. Because I mean, even like, I don't know, just anybody around our age, like if you're a millennial, you're in your early 30s, like you still have so much of your life to live. Like there's no reason why we have to have it all figured out right now. And like we didn't get a playbook on this. Like, everyone's living life for the first time. So why do we feel like we have to hold ourselves to this standard of my parents got married at this age, so I have to?
That was a huge one for me, like especially when I was in my last relationship, is my parents got married so young and they're still together. Like, I've watched them have like this beautiful, happy life. And to achieve that, I need to get married young. And I had set that standard for myself to get married at like 25 because I thought that was going to provide me happiness, where Andrew and I just started dating when I was 26.
Yeah. So like, what's better, marrying somebody at 25 just so you can check that box, or actually finding a life partner that you're going to be happy and healthy with?
It's just so true. Like, the timeline is a lie.
And I think from generation to generation, it's the same story every time, that no one is living the same life that their parents lived, because times are changing and evolving so much that every generation is really relearning how to adjust and live in the society that is currently going on. There also shouldn't be a final destination. There shouldn't be an ultimate goal that you need to reach. Like, goals should be constantly growing and evolving with you. And maybe it takes a little bit more time to achieve certain goals, but you should be constantly working towards different things, and at the same time taking a moment to like take in the view and take in the life that you've built and what you have in this moment. So you need to have balance in that situation as well.
I don't know. I guess another piece of advice would just be to like only worry about the things that you can control, because there's some things in our lives that are out of our control. And if we are beating ourselves up based on like the timeline we imagined for ourselves, but it's for external reasons, things that are out of our control, like, we're wasting our time thinking about those. We're wasting our time losing sleep over it. Like, let's focus on what we can control. Let's move forward. Let's figure out how to, I guess, be happy with what you have, with what you've got. And if you're not, then make those changes. Like, do what you can to make sure that the life you're living is a happy, fulfilled one.
Hallelujah.
Amen. Biggest takeaway on this is that balance doesn't always mean giving equal energy to everything in every aspect of your life. Sometimes it just means learning what you need most in the current season of your life.
Ooh, beautiful.
Yeah, it's okay to change the version of yourself as you grow through life. If you're not changing and evolving, you're remaining stagnant and not allowing yourself to grow and develop into the person you're probably meant to be.
Jenny, thank you so much for being with us today. It was such a pleasure to talk to you. Seriously, you had so many great takeaways, life advice. I think our listeners are really going to resonate with this episode, so I'm so excited to share it. Please let our audience know where they can find you.
Okay. On Instagram and TikTok, you can find me at Jenny Vana. There's 2 Y's and 2 A's. So JennyVana. I had to think about that one.
You need a sign next time.
Yeah, it's Jenny V on social media. So search that. You'll find me. I'm the only one. And come keep up with my crazy little life.
Thank you guys so much for listening to Growing Into It. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Growing Into It Pod, and rate, review, and share the podcast if this episode resonates with you.
We'll see you next time.
Jenny, do you know what we say?
There's a moi.
I don't
Peace out, peaches. Yeah. Mwah. I got it.
Just gonna keep it there.